Well, hi there. Welcome back to another Q&A video. I know I look all dark and mysterious right now. Accidental. It's late here. Everybody's asleep. I'm still awake. A little bit of the insomnia going on at the moment. I don't know what that is. Maybe that artist angst has finally caught up with me. But I'm here drinking tea, and then I thought, well, wouldn't it just be so nice to just talk to you and hang out with you, and then help me pass the hours before I eventually fall asleep. And so I thought, well, let's talk and let me answer some more of your questions. Wouldn't that be great? Awesome. Pleasure to have your company. Thank you for being here. And if ever I forget to mention it, let me tell you right now, I really appreciate your support on Patreon. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping me continue to do what I love to do. So really could not do this without you. So thank you. So what you're looking at here on the screen, a bit like the last Q&A video, I'm drawing directly over the top of a tiny little color study, which was only 3 by 4 inches. And rather than me just answer questions just to a camera without showing you any cool visuals, I thought, well, we could at least let this digital design evolve in the background while I was, answering some of your questions that you've sent through. And here I'm actually, what you're looking at on the screen, I'm playing with a new digital technique of drawing things out as a series of simple flat shapes and then just working on the shape. I'm really enjoying some of those new Groot brushes too, by the way. He's got the best names for brushes. For the most part throughout this painting, I'm using a brush called Brief Shona. One of my favorites is Rooster Suit. Chip Dizzle is another one. What's another one there? I can't quite make it out. Walrus Whisker? I don't know where he comes up with these, but I like it. Yeah. So I've got some great questions that have come through here. I'm going to try and get through about half a dozen of them in the time that we have together. And we've got Aaron, Louisa, Swathi, Vibhav, Ed, and Nate. So let's kick things off here and talk to Aaron. Okay. Is there any chance that we could see some of your early work to see how you've progressed over the years? Cheers. Aaron, I'm going to have to answer that in a video all by itself, but I would totally do that. And in fact, that's something that has been on the cards for a long time, is showing you where I started. I've got a couple of folios here. I've got a few old paintings that I have lying around. And I think there's 2 videos I really want to make. One of them will be showing you my high school portfolio. It was a massive, thick thing by the time I was done with it. I just kept drawing and drawing. I put so much into that dang thing. And that was, thinking back, that was an awesome time. Not school, but doing the art. But then, from my first exhibition and a few of those, just as I started to go, before I started to go pro, that was probably a year before I graduated university. So of course, I will definitely make something on that and share that with you. Not in this video, because I'm drawing Mount Pembroke right now. But I will totally do that, Aaron. So stay tuned. And anybody else who wants to see my early stuff, I will be making something special. I'll probably make something just for you on Patreon, actually, rather than make it a free-for-all on YouTube. I've got a question here from Swathi. We'll answer this one, then we'll answer Louise's. Hi, Andrew. Have you ever taken a commission for a landscape scene which you haven't experienced in real life? Let's say if you had never seen Milford Sound in real life, and just by relying on images, would you still be able to come up with such an engaging composition and make it as realistic and as authentic as you have done it now? Please share your thought process on how you would tackle the situation where you have to just rely on images. Swathi, this is a great question. And it's, Yeah, it's a real bummer what's happened in the last couple of years, and I don't want to get into like the what. I mean, you know what, but we can have different ideas about what's going on. But the end result has been you just can't travel, or it hasn't been readily, available to go places. Certain parts of the world are just maybe even not as safe anymore to go. Looking at war and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but it is what it is. And consequently, there's a lot of stuff that I had on the cards. I had lined up. We were really looking forward to coming back to the US. I was going to bring Rachel, we're going to do a massive USA tour. I was really looking forward to going to Switzerland, going to see my friend Corinne over in Switzerland. She came all the way to Lawrence in New Zealand to come see me there with her wonderful family. But, there are places, in Italy, all across. I've never even been to the UK. Man, I'd love to go to the UK. Been to Canada once. Never been to South America. Never been to Central America. And so there's a lot of places that I really would love to go and see. And it's just not possible now. And hopefully one day it will be. But I don't know. I'm not really counting on it. Let's put it that way. And before I had said, and I was adamant about this, that I would not paint a place unless I had been there and experienced it directly. And the reason I said that and was really kind of firm on that is I felt at the time that by being there and having direct experience with the subject, you would be able to put more into your painting and it would be a better image because of the amount of knowledge you would have gained about that particular subject, the quality of light, the various scales of elements within the scene. I mean, here, look at Mount Pembroke. Like, I know this mountain. I've been to this mountain so many times. That experience is going to end up in one way, shape, or form in this painting. That said, I've also used a bit of artistic license and changed it up a bit. But I don't know. Like, so my feeling before was, yeah, you really have to go there. But now, what are you going to do? So I've had to revisit that, and I've changed my thinking there. And I think it's okay to change your mind. It's fine to change your mind. I don't know why people have these hang-ups about going, no, I can't change my mind. No, once I set my mind on this, I have to stick with that particular idea because that's me now. You identify with they become part of your identity, your ideas. I don't like that so much. I want to be able to bob, weave, and move depending on what the world's throwing at us. And listen, the last couple of years, the world's throwing a heck of a lot our way as artists. I mean, let alone the business side of things with the gallery sector shutting down and all sorts of different ways. It's quite scary, But look, I think now I'm easing up on all of that. So I'm just going to say now, do whatever you want. Paint whatever you want. Do it however you want. There are various constants that we need to pay attention to as artists. And I think that if you got some really great royalty-free reference material, kind of think of it. Where are you going to find the best royalty-free references? Oh, that's right. On my Patreon page. I'm going to share with you some stuff, some cool stuff. Maybe you haven't been down here to New Zealand. I've uploaded a few reference files already of New Zealand stuff. And so my hope is that you'll take that reference, Swathi and anybody else, you'll take that reference. You'll paint from that. You'll enjoy it and put what you have in there. But whether you're painting New Zealand or the United States or Italy, it doesn't matter. You're still going to have perspective, geometric perspective, linear perspective. You're still going to have atmospheric perspective. That's still going to be a thing. You're still going to have complementary opposites to deal with. You're still going to have to design a great composition. You're still going to have to pay attention to your tonal values. You're going to have to tell a story and have some sort of sense of narrative in there. All of that stuff's so important. I think it'd be really interesting to take what you have that you've developed, focusing on what you've been exposed to, and apply that to something brand new with some new references. So let's not be hemmed in anymore. If you're going to hear something that sounds like a rule, now I'm going to separate, by the way, rules from laws. Those two are two different things. I'm Talk about universal laws when it comes to just the way color and light and perspective work. I mean, here you're probably following me, and you're here because you want to learn how to do things in a realistic manner, okay? I'm assuming. But, if it sounds like a rule, oh, no, I can only paint portraits of people that I'm immediately exposed to. Well, what if you wanted to do a portrait of Clint Eastwood out of The Good, the Bad, the Ugly? Is that okay? What if you wanted to paint a portrait of somebody that doesn't exist? Is that okay? Of course it is. So if it sounds like a rule, go ahead and break them. So personally, how do I feel about this? Well, I'm going to do it myself, personally. I mentioned Corinne before. Corinne has sent me some reference material of the Matterhorn. And a lot of my hero artists have painted that mountain. And I want to paint that mountain, but I've never been there. But I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to do it because it's just so dang cool. The only thing you might want to do is actually show somebody your image and say, hey, I've painted this painting of Mount Pembroke. Tish, you live in New Zealand and you're around Mount Pembroke and Milford Sound. This is Milford Sound here that you're seeing on the screen. Just not the iconic peak. This is the different, just turning over towards the right. So if you showed me something, say, hey, what do you think about this? Give me a quick feedback on this image. I'd be able to tell you, yeah, not bad, but your shadows might be slightly purple. It's actually a colder blue kind of light down here. Or, yeah, this is pretty good, but you've got the sun coming from the wrong angle. The orientation of Milford Sound is pretty much east-west. You got that light coming out of the north. That's just not going to happen. The sunset doesn't occur behind the mountain or whatever. So there's a bit of local knowledge there. I put my foot in it recently with a Sketch Endeavor episode. I sketched a couple of old sailboats. You might have seen the extended version here on Patreon. And I had a sailor comment on the YouTube video because what I had done with the original reference, which was from an old photo, I'd taken the tugboat that was dragging these sailboats. I took the tugboat out. And this guy who was knowledgeable with sailing, should have asked him first. He said, this is great, but a sailor knows that those boats aren't sailing right now because their sails aren't full of wind. They're not being pushed. They're being dragged through the water. You can tell because it doesn't have the main jib up. It's not there. Jib. I'm gonna pretend I know what I'm talking about right now. I still have no idea, but that's an example of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So can I draw or paint sailboats without being a sailor? Well, I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm going to go ahead and make the mistakes. I don't know about you. I tend to make most of my mistakes in public. Then I got to spend all this time backtracking. It's dangerous. Dangerous stuff being an artist. I hope that answers it. Do what you want, Swathi. Do what you want. And listen, again, you're good. You're great. And the digital work that you'd been doing and all these landscapes. You've requested a Kimberly file or a Carragini file. That is coming. So that reference is coming. I know you want to paint that part of the world. So I'm going to be putting something out very soon with that. Yeah, don't be discouraged. Be encouraged. Do what you want and just go where your heart leads. Look, all rules are out. The world being the way it is now. Get as much enjoyment from this as you possibly can. That's all I got to say. I don't want to sound too glum about it, but I mean, it is what it is. Get as much enjoyment out of your studio time and out of your art as you possibly can. Enjoy the heck out of it. So I hope that helps. Anyway, let's answer another one. Louisa, has art ever been disrupted by any of your relationships to the point where you had to put it on the back burner for a while? Uh-oh. Also, have you ever had someone not pay you for the artwork they commissioned you to do? A friend commissioned me and I told her she could just pay me whatever she could afford since she's a friend. She lives a comfortable life financially. Okay. Well, she has dodged paying me in various ways for so long that now I feel it's on God's hands. But it hurt, and I agonized over the painting for nothing in return other than the experience. Has anything like this ever happened to you? Yeah, lots of things like that. It doesn't have to be painting, but Just I think everybody's got a story of giving something from the heart to somebody else, and then just having that, just being crapped all over. There are some terrible people out there. Honestly, we ought to pray for them. No, seriously, we ought to. Not harbor any resentment or anything, but hold them in our hearts and say, this is one thing that just helps take the angst or the anger away from it, is just go, I wonder what happened to that person that makes them treat people this way. So instead of me treating them like a perpetrator and me being a victim, I look at them with, pity. Yeah, okay. And maybe that's not as constructive, but compassion. Because it's not right to treat people that way. That's a terrible thing to do, especially something that you've created. But what happened to them that makes them think that that's okay? At least you've got enough of a moral compass to know that, hey, that kind of sucks. That really stings. But let's look at this from a business standpoint. You might have to mark this one down to experience unless you're prepared to go in and have a real face-to-face conversation, not a confrontation, but a conversation. If you can do that, I would do that. If it was me, I'd say, hey, look, that painting that you got hanging on your wall? Unless I misread that from this, they've got the painting, they just didn't pay you. Say, yeah, I'm going to need that back now because I really need to pay the bills. I really, and you haven't paid me for it. And just see what's up. Just have a conversation with them and say, yeah, look, I've got the painting, but I'm not going to pay you. What are you going to do? Be like, okay, that's fine. Well, that's on you. You'll have to live with that, I suppose, and leave it there. And then find better friends. Friends don't treat each other like that. That's not right. And then, if you mark it down to experience, let's say they might be so embarrassed, and most likely they'd be like, oh gosh, you know what? I was hoping to pay you. I'm glad you mentioned, but now it's so long's passed. I feel really awkward about it. Yeah, you know what? I don't have a lot of money right now, but let me fix you up for it. Let me put a down payment on it or something, and let's set up a monthly pay schedule or something. The longer that thing goes, probably the weirder they feel about it. So I would get it sorted out with just an honest face-to-face conversation, and that would help rather than lose a friend. But also be prepared that you might lose one. But if they're going to do that to you and they're okay with it, then you're better off with some new friends. I recommend the Tish Zone. You're going to make some good friends there. Has art ever disrupted any of your relationships? I didn't answer your first question. To the point where you had to put it on the back burner for a while. When I was young, I regret not meeting Rachel younger. When I was earlier in life, I really wish I had. That would have been wonderful. I did the dating thing that everybody else does and goes through. And I had partners who didn't understand what I was doing or wanted to do or the kind of time that I wanted to put into it. But also I was pretty young and immature. But the only relationships, in terms of significant relationships, as in romantic relationships, I suppose, in the past, all that stuff's past. But with Rachel, that's the real the biggest relationship after God. I mean, that is the biggest relationship that I have, and the most important one, of course. And then, of course, my beautiful little son. But what am I saying? I think with Rachel and I from the very beginning, she knew how important this was to me, that I spent time in nature, painting, in the studio painting, just developing, working my tail off. I've been working so hard for the last 10 years, and not all of it on the right stuff, but, I found my way, going through things just like everybody else does. But she understood from the beginning, okay, Andrew just needs to work right now. He just needs to do his thing. I never had to put that on the back burner. I mean, she's a wonderful woman and my best friend. And she totally gets me and what I have to do and gives me the space and the time to be able to do that, and has never, ever held that against me. Never. I mean, I know that's rare. I know a lot of people really struggle with that, and my heart goes out to them. When you don't have that open, honest, two-way communication with your significant other, it's rough, man. But I think it's really important to just communicate your values to people. When I was younger, though, I'll just tell you right now, honestly, I don't have a lot of friends. I don't. I know you're shocked right now, right? You're like, really? You should have dozens. I know. Thank you. I know I am. Well, we can be friends. Look, when I was younger, there was, the bars and the partying and the this and the that, and I remember I was watching this guy, E.T., Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip-hop preacher. He had this line, it was great. He was talking in context. The context was, he was talking about putting time in on that thing that you're hustling, you're working, you're striving, you're trying to achieve something. And so-and-so calls you because they want to go to the bar, or they want to see the next gig, or they want to go to the comedy club, or they want to do this or that, or, hey, can I just come hang out with you, or whatever. And he's like, you got the right person, you just have the wrong decade. I'm working. And click. So I did that. All right, take note. If you want to lose a lot of friends, do that. But the thing is that I am so driven and so focused on what I want to do that, and I've tried to be as authentic as possible. Now I'm just unapologetically, I'm just me. So the people that come into my life that know who I am, and don't get me wrong, look, I'm nice to everybody. I love people. I love people. And I try to be kind and loving to everybody. Who you're hearing here on the microphone, who you've seen in the videos, yes, massive goofball, but I try to be nice to people. So, I don't go out of my way to be difficult and say, well, I'm too busy for you. It's just like, look, I'm working right now. And very few people kind of understand that. But there's a few who do. And now I've got like such quality relationships that I know if I pick up the phone and I call Samuel Earp right now, we'll just pick up right where we left off. It might have been a couple of weeks, but honestly, with Sam and I, like, we're talking every few days. And by the way, I want you to go and follow Sam on Patreon. All right. He's putting out some really good stuff over there. But Sam has just welcomed his daughter into the world. And shout out to my brother Sam. Man, I love that guy so much. Wonderful couple, Sam and Sinead. And they've got a gorgeous little son, Theodore. But they've just had a daughter within the last week. So shout out to Sam. I'm very blessed to have a friend like Sam because Sam gets it. And we hit it off from day one. And he's just my brother from another mother. And we also see eye to eye on so many things going on. And in the world today, somebody like me, I do feel very lonely, particularly with some of the weird ideas. You might have heard it here and there, okay? But, and that's not to judge anyone, okay? We're all individuals. We all think different. But Sam and I just really vibe on that level. I'm not a flat earther yet. That's going to shock Frank. Not really, bro. I'm just joking about that. But I don't know. I'm open to it. It looks pretty flat to me, but I don't know. Could be. It could be. But I have fun with Sam. Like we talk about everything, and it's awesome. So I think that art has definitely disrupted relationships, but they weren't the relationships that I was meant to be keeping. So, it's good. I'm kind of, the more I am me and the more I kind of authentically express myself and just do what I feel I need to do. And I'm on purpose and I'm on mission and I'm focused and I'm trying to seek that direction from my Lord and Savior and just try to feel that. It's almost like a compass needle that points you in that direction. I'm not interested anymore in impressing anybody. And I'm not necessarily trying to have a good time. I'm just trying to go, how can I provide service, and what what do I really need to be doing right now? And now, you know, that I've got a family, it's, you know, what can I do to support them? That's my role. And the right people are just show up. The right people get it. And the wrong people, they just fall away. And there's people that I used to be friends with, was friends with for years and years. And then I realized there's no point in just being friends with somebody just because you've been friends for a long time. Sometimes it's time to just, you know, sayonara, you know, keep them in your heart, but send them on their way. And that's fine. That's fine. It kind of sucks, but it's fine. Anyway, let's move on. I need to get through all of these. Vibe Huff with a business question. Hi, Andrew. Recently started shooting videos of my paintings, and I realized how much gigabytes of data is generated and how much space each video is taking up on my hard drive. Would like to know how you manage recording videos and storing them and sending it to Liam. I know Liam is based in Dunedin, and you are using NAS or cloud storage? Please help with this technical side of art making. Great video so far. Thanks. Vibe Hub, brother, I'm just going to say, love following you on Instagram. And yeah, really enjoy the work you're putting out. So I was excited to hear that you're doing videos. And look, you know, when you're shooting videos of art, because art takes such a long time, and particularly if you're running the cameras like I am, you go through not gigabytes, terabytes worth of footage. On my desk right now, I'm going to hold this up. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a little external hard drive, right? I've got tons of these little hard drives. Like I've got about a dozen just sitting here on my desk. Probably over 50 terabytes just sitting right there on the desk. Oh, well and truly. Yeah. So how do you manage that? How do you deal with that? Well, first, I've got a way of organizing them in terms of files. So I organize the files in terms of, you know, the date, the project, and then for each project, when you open up that project file, it's got in there camera 1, 2, and 3, palette cam, external palette cam. So there's a direct palette shot, then there's a secondary palette shot, iPhone footage and all that. Like right now, just to give you an idea, there's 5 cameras rolling in the studio at one time. Five of them. And so Liam's now, with a lot of this new stuff, he's cutting from this angle to that angle to that angle, even showing multiple angles at once on the screen. So that's coming up in the beginner's course. Really excited to share that with you. And by the way, I'm no longer going to call it a beginner's course. I'm calling it my oil painting essentials course, because I want to take you through beginner stuff, explain some concepts that are really vital. But at the end of it, man, you're going to, everything, colors, layering, mediums, varnishing, ground, different subjects, still lives, landscape. I'm even going to throw in a couple of pet portraits too. This course is going to have it all. So how do you film that? And how do you store it? So, and how do I get it to my editor? Because look, I'm here in the Marlborough Sounds. I'm at the one end of the South Island of New Zealand. So if you look at the map, like I'm kind of smack bang in the middle of the country, and Liam is all the way down the bottom in deep south in Dunedin. So how do I get the footage to him? Well, I post to him a external hard drive with projects that are going. So I'll finish a project in the studio. I would have been backing up myself all of those memory cards. And then he'll get those memory cards. He'll get those hard drives. And then we'll have a call. We'll have a meeting. He's like, hard drive's arrived. Okay, I'm opening it now. We'll do a FaceTime or a Zoom. And I'll say to him, okay, listen, the aerial chopper scene. Okay, I'm gonna need these cuts. I need a 45-minute cut that I'm gonna give to my patrons on Patreon. Actually, I think that one's closer to an hour. Okay. You've already seen it. If you're listening to me now, I've already put it out there. So when I'm recording this right now, late at night here on a Friday night, you would have already seen the aerial chopper. What'd you think? It was pretty cool, huh? So a few different angles there. Yeah. So I'll have a menu or a set or a shot or a project list for him. I say, I need a YouTube version. I need a Patreon version. I need a TikTok. I need a this. I need a that. And he'll just go ahead and whip that up, and he applies all the garnish to it. So once he provides a rough cut for me, he'll then upload that rough cut to YouTube or send it to me via Dropbox. Normally he uploads to YouTube at full quality without formatting it. And then I'll take that, download it here on my end. So now it's come back to me, but now as a finished project, and I'll narrate it. And then I'll send that back to him and say, right, put music to it, put this, put that, put the other. I'll give him my narration and what's called PTC, or piece to camera. And that PTC is me talking to the camera. So whenever you see my YouTube videos, you'll notice that I tell you what's going to happen in this video right before the introduction sting, or the intro little sequence, whatever. And I'll say, hey, in this video, we're going to be painting a landscape, and I'm going to share with you my top 5 colors or whatever. Roll that intro. You've seen it. You know the drill. So it's very much a formula now. And now that I've got it down to a formula, I'm thinking about changing it up again. But good question. There was definitely some hoops to jump through. I think we've hit our stride now. So now the benefit of all those years of experience is kind of coming into play with how to shoot, how to get everything sequenced, how to put... I should really do a behind the scenes and show y'all what's going on here. Like it is, technical, yeah, kind of, but man, it's a learning curve. I knew none of this stuff when I started. None. I had to learn, the hard way from the beginning, from scratch. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I'm getting there now. I hope that answers your question. Dropbox instead of cloud storage. Dropbox. We use Dropbox a lot, but I'm shipping them. But just snail mail in the post. I'll send them a hard drive. That's the easiest way of doing it. I've got a technical question from Ed, younger Ed. How you doing, Ed? Do you have any tips for people that want to practice but they don't know where to start? For me, I want to get better drawing, specifically my portrait drawings, but I don't know if my current way of practicing is not as effective, since I only draw myself from pictures. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay. A lot of younger folks, Ed, do feel like they don't know where to start. I'm going to be very brief because I want to get to Nate's question as well. But start where you stand. Just start, bro. Just start. You've got everything you need in front of you. I realized recently, since doing paintings of fruit and vegetables, what an adventure a tomato is. All right, stay tuned. It's coming up this week on Patreon. Like, how cool is a tomato? Just put a tomato under a desk lamp and just look at it. And try and explore what's going on there with the tones and the color and the linear aspect of that tomato. Try and figure out how to do that with paint. Go on, give it a go. And then you'll really get into it. And you'll be like, far out, look how the tone goes from like that brilliant highlight into like this saturated red, and then the saturation drops right off, and then the tone drops right off. And look at how we lose the edge right there underneath the tomato, and look how it bleeds into the shadow. And oh my goodness, that cast shadow is so cool. And look at the reflected light there. It's just a friggin' tomato. There's nothing there. It's just tomato. Everybody looks at tomatoes and like, yeah, so what? Tomato. Let's chop it up and put it in the sandwich. Look, it just start where you're standing. Start from direct observation. Just pick a thing. Untie your shoes, take your left shoe off, put it on the table, and draw it. Just draw it. Start with direct observation. And then if you're going to draw yourself or do a self-portrait, use a mirror. I'd recommend that. Start where you stand. Don't overthink this. A tomato can be an adventure, or a shoe. All right? I could spend more time on that question. But Ed, good question. Let's see if I can sneak this in less than a minute from Nate. Another Q&A. I have tons, but I want to be considerate. Oh, Nate, I might even have to bump you to the next Q&A. Sorry. Recently downloaded an app where I can filter reference photo to make it look more painterly, so I don't have to look at all the detail blasting me at one time. You can slowly take that effect away as you get more into detail. Have you ever tried this? You can get some painterly effects to help you block in and color matching, then use your artistic license. Nate, I'm just going to say right now, the way I do it is the way you've just seen it on the screen. I refer to photos, but you didn't see any photos in there and no filters. I draw it myself, and I would recommend you do the same. And on that note, and there's a reason why, but I'll have to explain that in another Q&A. Sorry, Nate. It's been fun hanging out. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here in the studio. Man, getting through 6 questions is a lot. I need to stop talking so much in the beginning. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you again in the next video. I'm actually quite tired now. I might go to bed. All right. Good night.